Add line. Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. Another video here of what is becoming kind of a series on testing and tuning the Ascent Fusion. And in this video, I am testing out the JConcepts Ruptures. Well, not testing the Ruptures as much as I am just testing out this truck with really good tires, because I know the Ruptures are excellent tires for the area I crawl in. But anyway, these are aluminum Treal, aluminum beadlock wheels, JConcepts Ruptures in the green compound. They have dual stage, Three Brothers anti-foams in them, and they just work awesome. I wanted to come back to this spot because the last video I did when I did a little back-to-back testing with the stock tires versus these, I was in a different area. And I just wanted to come back over here because I know I've run these lines a lot more recently, especially with this truck. So I can just really see the difference. But another thing I'm testing out in this video is the suspension. So I went ahead and removed the inner springs from the front shocks. And I also put in 55 weight shock fluid in all four shocks, and really happy with it. The descending on this truck still, needs some work. So that's gonna be a future video. I'm trying a couple things out with that, but as far as climbing goes, this thing did extremely well. And you'll see later in the video, I was able to make a climb that I was only ever able to do with one other truck. So very happy about that. The suspension tuning, I really like the 55 weight. It seemed to really benefit in terms of like punching it up over obstacles where you kind of have to give it a little bit of the beans just to kind of zap it up over like a ledge, or just reposition it, or jump over a little gap between rocks. It seemed like the 55 weight really made it a lot more stable. So happy about that. And also just kind of react a little bit slower. So if it was going to flip or kind of do something out of sorts, it gave you a little bit more of a warning, which is kind of what I like in a crawler. So found some really cool stuff to play around on here. Zero issues with this truck all day. Didn't have any more issues with rod ends coming off or screws coming loose. Everything just worked perfectly the entire time. I was out for probably about an hour and a half running this on just one 1300 3S pack. So excellent runtime with the Fusion motor on this. And you can see even little moves like that, like just very controlled now. Not that it was horrible before, but I think just the heavier fluid in the shocks really just helped damp that bounciness that you would get sometimes. So yeah, like this obstacle, I found a bunch of stuff that I had never really messed around with before. And that's why I'd said in previous videos, the more capable any truck is, the more capable it becomes, you really have to start looking for new things and adjust your mindset to see like what's possible. Okay, so here's the reason I came back here today. This ridge right up here. Only been able to do it, I think, once ever with my G-Speed. Let's see what you got, Redcat. These Ruptures doing work already. This is the tricky part, because you got to stay out of these little overhangs on the right, or they just grab your wheels, and then you get your rear axle starts binding up on this edge here, and it starts driving you off to the side exactly like it's doing. This is going to take some work. You almost need, see how that front starts to go under that little overcut there. And this, it's so close. See, that front tire is just, and then the rear starts coming off. Whoa! Now to this. This is the problem right here. You see the front passenger tire just gets pinched. So you have to steer out of it. As soon as you steer out of it, the rear axle and the front axle slide off the edge. So a dig right now would be great, is. Don't think it's doable. What? What? Oh, still, hard part just begins here. Now the rear wheels catch and the front wheels catch. Both going into that crack. Come on, Ruptures, you got this. Be a good photo, but I'm not stopping to take it. Oh, come on, don't do this to me now. You get the hook. Yeah. Oh. There it is. Wow. So for line number 2 here, there's a lot of binding going on with this, so this kind of scares me. So I mentioned like binding and grinding in this spot, and that's just because in the past, other rigs I've driven through here get all jammed up in these rocks, and it's almost to the point where you could break an axle or something. And I don't know if it just picked a good line or it was just this truck, but it made it look super easy. I was just like, whoa, dude? Seriously? Like it just look easy. Got through it like nothing. So damn. I guess that's a good sign that I'm on my way to getting this thing pretty dialed in, even though I haven't really done all that much to it. Really challenging bit here. That is this kind of little bridge rock coming up. Not really in a position here to see what to do. Focus. Both me and the camera. No! That's exactly what I didn't want to do. The only 10 scale I've been able to get this with was my G-Speed when I was experimenting with a anti-sway bar on the rear, and it kept it very flat. It kind of kept it from unloading to the front, right like that. This might, no. Reverse, I think. We got it, we got it. Oh yeah. I was gonna say, one thing I noticed with doing the 55 weight suspension fluid is when I kind of punch it to jump over gaps and stuff like that, it reacts much better. It doesn't bounce as much. It's just a lot more controlled. And I think that's been a huge benefit with just that really technical line I just did, where I had to kind of zap it up and get it in position, and it just seems to be more controlled. So I really like that about this this new setup. Okay, so another really tricky spot here. And a few of these sections, like the previous climb, you know, that big kind of ridge climb on the edge of that rock, I worked at that for I'd say 8 or 10 minutes before I was able to get it, just trying to figure out what the approach would be. And I realized I just could not slow crawl it. It needed to be bumped up just a little bit, just for the front tire to clear that one kind of overhang. So I didn't want to bore you guys to death with just, you know, an hour-long video of me trying something. So I don't want to just post, like, cherry pick my videos and be like, look how capable this truck is. So I'm telling you, like, some of these things I worked at for a while. That one section right there, coming over those rocks into this off camber, this took me a few tries to figure out how to pivot it around on the slider just so that the front wheel landed in the right spot. And it's an extremely tricky spot to get right. And any other rig that I've driven this spot, it's the same thing. You just got to learn, you know, what it wants, what it needs, and then figure it out as you go. So, you know, I come here maybe once a week at the most, but I've been here multiple times over the past year. So it's not like I'm here constantly and I know the positioning exactly for every single vehicle. So, you know, sometimes you just got to work at it a little bit. But what's great about this truck, and this is like a good sign to me that it's like a good performing rig and kind of well designed, is that it gives you that comfort zone to kind of just play around and try something over and over and over again, because you could eventually make it. You just have to learn, you know, how the vehicle is going to shift its weight, and you know where to position the wheels to kind of compensate for that. So, yeah, that to me is a sign of a really good performing truck, is that it gives you that zone to kind of mess around in and try things without it just instantly toppling over. So this truck definitely, and it's fun. Like that's the key to me, is like that's what makes it more fun, is having that challenge, but then just kind of trying to figure out the puzzle of how to make it work, how to drive it. So then it comes down to more of the actual driving and what you're learning by watching the vehicle, and maybe picking different lines or just trying a different approach, maybe something with a little speed, maybe slow crawling it, and just trying different things to make it work. And when it does, that's the most rewarding thing. And that's why I love the experience of just going out with a rock crawler, is because you have all these little puzzles that you need to figure out, and then each truck you take out is slightly different, and that's the fun part, is just kind of learning the truck. So what I find with this truck is, you know, now that it's really pretty dialed in with a minimal amount of work, is that I just really enjoy driving this thing and just finding new challenges. You'll see here the descending capability of this truck is the next thing I want to work on, because I do come down pretty much everything that I go up, and I really enjoy watching the truck come back down. It's just really fun to me, and it's just as challenging at times. And the rear of this truck is just so light, it just comes up super easy. So I did just pick up some cheapy Amazon brass portal weight covers for the rear, and I installed those. So the next time I go out, I'll be testing that just to see. I just want to make sure I don't want to compromise its climbing ability, but I just want to kind of add a little bit more weight to the rear, just to keep it more planted. And I'm curious to see what changes that makes, you know. So, and yeah, they were like $20 off Amazon. So pretty much anything that fits a Gen 8, the portal covers that fit, you could just do a search for Gen 8 brass portal covers. They will fit the front or the rear. And the ones I just got for the rear are actually a little bit larger than the ones that come stock on this truck in the front. So at some point, maybe I'll swap them around, put the heavier ones up front, put the stock ones in the rear. But for now, I'm just going to keep it as is, put the heavier ones in the back, just to try it. This spot here, I've never been able to make with anything. So I just wanted to put it on video here, so I have like kind of a record of what I've been attempting. And it's like, it's close. I think with a little bit more tuning, you know, I'm not sure what. I think maybe, you know, having the internal springs removed from the front shocks, it does hinder performance in a way. Like when you are at those extreme steep angles, the shocks can extend more and you get a little more weight falling backward. So that's the downside to pulling out the internal springs. The upside is you get more articulation, more shock travel up front, and it's better for descending. It's better in a lot of ways, most ways, I think. I think overall I like it, but I am going to install, I actually did already do it. I took some stretchy hair tie bands and put them around the front shocks, just to kind of achieve the same thing that the internal springs do, but without limiting the amount of travel, right? There's nothing inside the shock that's going to limit it. So this was a cool spot here. I was able to get this hook with the rear wheel. And that's the kind of thing I want to try to improve on, where, you know, sometimes you try to do that and the rear of the truck is so light, it just goes shooting off of the ledge. But this time I was able to get it, so that was a really fun spot. And again, I think this was another new area that I never really messed with before. So that's the cool thing, is when you get a truck that's that's capable, you can go out and find new challenges, even in the areas you've crawled before. If you're used to driving like a trail truck, and maybe this is your first like comp style truck that has like a 60/40 weight bias and a fusion motor and all this stuff, you know, you'd be surprised at what this thing can do. And you know, hey, it never hurts to try it. Well, sometimes it hurts. If you get into enough of a bind, you may end up breaking something. So you do have to be a little bit careful. But I'm never afraid of that. I try to push my trucks as hard as I can without purposefully breaking something. But I do always kind of lean toward clearing a line if possible, even if it means I'm likely to flip the truck over and get a couple scratches or maybe even break something. I still want to try it, you know, just to see if I can do it. Like, perfect example here. I knew I wasn't going to get down this, but why not? It wasn't anything at the bottom that was really going to destroy anything, but it's all fun. Cool spot here. This little climb up to the left, there was just something really satisfying about the way the truck moved and just dragged the rear up this. And yeah, the Ruptures are such a good tire. So I almost don't like talking about specific tires all that much, because some guys might think, oh, that's an awesome tire, I'm gonna get it. And then you run it on the terrain that you have. It might be very different rock. It might just have a different surface. It might be different temperature conditions, climate. And I don't know. I don't know that these are gonna be the best tires everywhere. I do know that these are the best tires that I've tried in this area. Pretty much multiple areas around me. I go different directions and I could get slightly different types of rock, but for the most part, these have worked phenomenally well everywhere I've gone. Even in the rain, these things work out better than any tire I've tried. So for me, they work. I can't promise that it's going to be like that for everyone, but I typically don't hear anyone talking bad about any JConcepts tires in the green compound. So these, the Tusk, the Megalithic, I think would be like the top 3 choices for me if I just want a straight up performance tire. If you are, now keep in mind, if you're going to go to a competition that's like a Sorka level competition and they're going by the rules, these tires are banned from competition just because they don't match any real life. They're not a scale version of a real true 1-to-1 size tire, which I don't agree with. I don't like that rule. You know, if you're going to allow all these other modifications, and why would the tire have to be like a real tire? I don't know. Like maybe certain classes, yeah, class 1, that's fine. But if you're going to get into like a class 3, like just run whatever, have like an unlimited class, you know, run whatever tire you want. So just know that if you're going to pick these up and you plan on doing comps, check with your local group first, see if they really are going to ban these or not. But unfortunately for me, I don't have too many comps in my area. I would love to get something started myself, actually, if I had the time. But so I'm not too worried about what's legal as far as Sorka goes. Now, I would be curious to try, and maybe I will in the future, just to try these tires out with the Endura inserts and see how they do compared to the anti-foams. There's a huge price difference, so it would be great if the Enduras were, you know, as good as 3D printed, because that would definitely pick up a couple more sets for some of my other trucks. So the jury's still out. They worked. The greens worked really well in the stock tires on this truck. Now, of course, you know, switching to these tires changes everything, so I can't really get a good idea of what's insert versus what's tire in terms of performance without switching things around. So I did just put the blue Enduras in my Vanquish Phoenix with the Patagonian tires that were on that, so I want to get out and run that soon and see how they work out in that. I think for that weight truck, the blues seem to be just about right. So yeah, it would be great. I know a lot of people love the Endura inserts, so I haven't run them a ton, so I can't really say 100% one way or the other, but they seem to be really good so far from what I've seen. Yeah, then I realized, so I was all excited finding this area, and I was like, man, there's some really cool features here, and a lot of cool just ledgy, like a lot of the rock here seems to be broken up, so it creates a lot of these like rock slabs and ledges. And then I realized like this section here was actually part of a little comp course that I had laid out for myself like 2 years ago. I cut some tennis balls in half and numbered them and made gates and everything, and I just played around in this area, kind of made a little, you know, section myself. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh man, this is exactly where I was. So it's funny how like I figured that out after a while. So that's it, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Later.